It's getting late and I want to get on with these, in my humble opinions, get them finished now. There's just so many distractions at this time of year. But they're nearly finished now. You can tell this two ways. First of all, the workshop is just a total mess. It happens every time when I'm doing a batch. You slowly accumulate bits of this, that and the other everywhere. And then when I've finished the batch, I clear it all up, ready to start again. And then of course you can't find anything for a while. But the other way that you can tell that I'm nearly finished is I'm just doing the crank handles. And these, certainly for me, pretty much the last thing I do for some reason. I usually put the crank handle on and then I start doing the wiring for the controls, and finally the gluing, getting all the cams in the right place. Sometimes when you look at Automata, they do look at a bit of an afterthought. It's just a little stick or something. But I think everything communicates, doesn't it? And it's important. It's like having a well-maintained front door if you're trying to sell a house, or wearing a good pair of shoes. You can tell a lot from small things, and I think a nice crank handle makes quite a difference. For a start, it's the one part of the Automaton that you actually touch most of the time when you're using it, and it's just a nice tactile feel to it. What I do is make them out of walnut wood. I used to use rosewood, but it's not allowed now really. You certainly can't export it or import it into many countries. But, walnut's fairly easily obtained. You can buy walnut dowel, at least in the UK, and can turn them down. I used to turn them down by hand on a wood lathe. That works okay. The trouble is everyone's slightly different, and that was a little bit annoying, and sometimes you just keep going to try and make them the same shape as the last one and you end up with next to nothing left. So I use this little converted lathe. I converted this little Sherline lathe to CNC, and there I can very consistently produce these blank knobs. It takes quite a long time, you've got to keep an eye on it. But the results are very good. They need finishing, of course, and I finished those on my Proxon 250 lathe. Of course, that runs backwards, which makes it much easier for sanding. And then I use Libron wax. I use a soft one, which is slightly coloured, and finally a very hard one. And with the lathe, it melts into the wood, and it makes quite a hard finish. So the finished article I think is very nice. Then I suspend them on you see a brass, if you can get a lens that works, a brass pin. I make these. I make them on a lathe. You could also just make them in a drill press, not quite as easily, but they're just the length of 3mm rod with a 6mm brass disc glued onto it. Well, I actually flatten the ends slightly to make a friction fit, hammer it on, and use super glue as well to just belt and braces. But the finish is, let's see if that one works. The finish is very nice. You can't really tell that it's not just one piece of brass actually. So those go through the wooden handle once I've got it polished and cut off. And then I put on, after it's a little washer, a little PTFE washer. That's got two functions. That's quite a tight fit. That's a 3mm hole in there. So that actually reduces the friction there, so it's sort of a washer there. It also stops the glue running back, just in case when I'm gluing it in. I glue them in with super glue. That's got a 3mm hole in it. This is a 3mm reamer. What I'll do is just Make sure the hole's big enough with the reamer, get it the right size. So put the pin on. That's a perfect fit. It's a little bit long at the back. I can take that off, but also this does stand a little bit proud of the Automaton. So I'm just going to, I will glue that in there, a little bit of super glue eventually. But, I mean, well, that one, it probably needs a little bit of a hole drilling to make it bigger, but that's going to fit on there. I have got one that's already drilled, this original one is a good fit, so the whole thing isn't working yet, of course, but it will be once I get the wires on. I think it makes a really nice finish to it. It really adds a lot, just a small piece of wood, but I think it just makes the whole Automaton in a slightly different class if it's got a nice crank handle. Good. I want to try and get these finished by Wednesday. It's Sunday now, but I'm away looking after grandchildren for 2 days, but I think I'm going to get there. I've sold 2 already, and those are the 2 I'll get finished. I've got 8 on the way altogether, but I've cut it down to 4 to start with, just to get some going. Thank you for watching. See you next time.